Hello, Nari McDiarmid for Aspermont. And in the lead up to Mining News Select Australia 2025, it's great to be speaking again with Frazer Tabeart, Managing Director of Alma Metals. So, Fraser, the key message, what would you like people to understand about Alma?
Yeah, look, I think the key message, Nari, is that we've got a fantastic deposit in Queensland that the market hasn't quite recognised yet. So there's a really good opportunity here for investors to come in and be part of the growth. We've currently got a market EV of only $5 million on a project that's in the top five largest undeveloped copper projects in Australia in a great location. So there's a fantastic opportunity for those that are willing to share the ride with us.
Now, you're referring to the Briggs project here, and you obviously like what you see. Alma Metals recently elected to enter the third stage of the joint venture where you can take your stake to 70%. And you've recently updated the resource there. So, can you run through some of the highlights of what makes Briggs special to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're correct. We have just done a resource update. So, importantly, that's taken part of the resource into the indicated category. And that, the entire resource extends from surface down to depths of at least 700 or 800 meters below surface. So it's very, very large. It's got fantastic geometry. And because it's right at surface and with that geometry and with the grade distribution, then we're very likely to be looking at very low strip ratios over the entire life of an operation. But particularly in the early years, we're looking at probably almost a zero strip ratio for the first 3 to 5 years. Now, obviously, we've got to do studies to sort of put a schedule around that, but that's sort of underway. In addition to that, reasonably recently we announced some fantastic metallurgy. And so, not only can we get extremely high recovery of the copper, we're getting sort of 94 to 95% of the copper recovered is going into high grade concentrates, which obviously has good implications on logistics costs. But probably most importantly, we're getting all those good recoveries at very coarse grind sizes, and that means a lot lower power consumption than you would normally have. So when we combine low strip ratio with low power consumption, add in the excellent existing logistics. I mean, we're only 60 k's west of the deep water port of Gladstone. Everything's sort of lining up to have low to very low operating cost structures. And that's obviously something that is going to be, documented in our scoping study. But it means this project's got the potential to deliver, low cost copper over a very long period, and that's something that the market really needs.
Now, you mentioned scoping study in passing. What's the news flow ahead for Alma Metals?
Yeah, obviously the scoping study is sort of the next sort of major milestone for us. So, we've got quite a few of the components of that are already done. So the resource update's completed. The met test work program is almost complete. We're just sort of tidying up some final ultra coarse grind test work to see if we can lower that power curve even more. We've also completed the sort of the desktop environmental and permitting aspects. So the only thing now remaining is sort of mine design, mine scheduling and layout and tailings management. So all of that work should be underway relatively shortly, and we expect to be completing that sort of sometime early Q3 this year, and then results reported to the market shortly thereafter. In the interim, our goal will be to get back out drilling. So, the idea is to get out drilling as soon as we can. We have been successful in getting a grant from the Queensland government to help offset the cost of a deep hole across the entire system, which is also testing a deep geophysics anomaly, which might be some high grade mineralisation. Obviously, the drill rig will be the ultimate test for that. But we're not bereft of news flow for the next 3 to 4 months, and then once the scoping study's out, I think assuming that it's positive, which we're absolutely sure it will be, then we'll be committing to a major drilling program to take the project into pre-feasibility. So there's likely to be news flow from assays and drilling all the way through the rest of this year.
So, some busy months ahead, Fraser. If we look a little further ahead, what do you see success looking like for Alma Metals?
Yeah, look, I think the key, obviously, people have been concerned about the grade of this deposit, and I think we're sort of, all the work that we've done is putting that to rest. It's all about low cost. I think the ultimate proof of the pudding there will be attracting a partner to fund this project, which is effectively then sort of third party, slash independent validation that we've got a project here that's going to work. So I think, people looking out for that, look for new corporate or institutional investors coming on the register, and as we go into pre-feasibility as a sort of tick of approval of the project. And obviously, ultimately, that should lead into a higher share price for the shareholders.
Well, Fraser, all the best with what's ahead, and I look forward to seeing you at Mining News Select Australia.
Thanks, Nari. Look forward to it.